You won't believe what scientists just stumbled upon in the woods. You might believe that we've already discovered everything there is to know about the natural world, but that's not the case. In fact, there's still so much more to uncover, especially in the animal kingdom where new species are being discovered regularly. From a lemur that behaves like a mouse to a species that seems to combine features from multiple creatures, here are the 20 strangest creatures that have been recently discovered. Number 20. New mouse lemur. Scientists in Madagascar have identified a new species of mouse lemur in northern Madagascar, but they warned that deforestation and habitat loss may already be threatening it. The little primate was discovered following a protracted investigation of numerous mouse lemur groups and is now known as Jonah's mouse lemur. Hopefully, it's not because it's about to sink into extinction. Between 2008 and 2017, scientists collected 117 mouse lemurs using traps or by hand during nocturnal investigations before releasing them back into the wild. The lemurs were thoroughly examined and monitored, and samples were collected from their ears for DNA analysis. While the status of certain mouse lemurs has been questioned in the past, researchers were able to demonstrate significant genetic diversity, as well as different morphology to conclude that this little guy should be recognized as a separate species. The new mouse lemur species is among the largest mouse lemur species, with a noticeable white stripe running down its snout, reddish-brown hair, and the wide eyes typical of this nocturnal group. It's around 26 centimeters long from tip of nose to tail and weighs 60 grams on average. It was named after Professor Jonah Ratsambazafai, a well-known Malagasy primatologist who serves as an inspirational role model for young Malagasy students and scientists, according to the report. Number 19. Bizarre snake with green fur found in Thailand. Snakes can be found practically any place on Earth. Snakes are present everywhere except Antarctica, Iceland, Ireland, and Greenland, according to National Geographic. They occur in a variety of colors and sizes, with some seeming completely strange, such as the furry green snake discovered in a Thai marsh. Almost all snakes, like reptiles and cold-blooded creatures, have scales that help them control their body temperature. In arid regions, these scales collect moisture and minimize friction. Several snake species have been discovered that are mostly scaleless. Is it possible that the green furry snake is one of them? On February 26, 2022, a mysterious furry green snake was discovered in Thailand's Sakon Nakhon province, according to Newsflare. This weird 2-foot-long snake had a frilly body that mimics hair when it glides underwater. A 49-year-old resident first observed the snake as it crawled slowly in the muddy water near his house while he was out strolling. He brought the snake home and put it in a jar before exhibiting it to his similarly perplexed family members. Puff-faced water snakes are a minimally venomous species of water snake. They live in bodies of fresh water such as ponds, wetlands, and woodland streams. This species is nocturnal and feeds mostly on fish or frogs. Number 18. Coiled siphonophore. Underwater investigators discovered a 150-foot-long siphonophore, a transparent, stringy organism composed of smaller animals similar to coral, dwelling in a subterranean canyon off the coast of Australia. They described it as the largest animal ever discovered. Every individual siphonophore is made up of numerous little zooids, which have lives more like those of animals but are always tied to the greater colony. According to a 2005 study, zooids are born asexually, and each one serves a purpose for the siphonophore's bigger body. According to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, the colonies may reach lengths of up to 130 feet when linked together in extended chains, despite the fact that each siphonophore is only about the thickness of a broomstick. The new world record-breaking siphonophore was discovered by a crew on board the research vessel Falker while investigating deep-sea canyons near Australia's Ningaloo coast. The researchers employed a remotely operated vehicle dubbed ROV Sebastian to explore and gather samples from hitherto unexplored deep ocean locations. Number 17. A new frog species discovered in Newcastle. A biologist has discovered a previously unknown species of frog near Newport, Stevens, approximately 10 kilometers from Newcastle Airport, Australia. The frog's unusual marbled black and white underside, according to Dr. Simon Clullow, a biologist at the University of Newcastle, led him to realize he had discovered something extraordinary. The distinctive marble pattern on the frog's belly, along with other features, distinguishes it from any other frog species in this part of the world and led us to believe straight away that we had discovered a new species. It was an incredible moment, says Simon, who discovered the new frog in an oyster cove and swamp. Discoveries of new vertebrate species are uncommon, especially in established places such as Newcastle, which is the second most populous area in New South Wales after Sydney. The discovery is especially significant because most new species discoveries these days are based on genetic variances discovered in the lab. According to Simon, it's almost unheard of to pick up a vertebrate in the field and instantly recognize it as a new species based on appearance alone. He added, "The new frog is small, it fits on a human fingertip, and highly disguised, living well hidden behind a layer of plants or sand, which most likely contributed to its lengthy survival." The new species has been called Mahoney's toadlet after Simon's supervisor and mentor, famous frog scientist and conservationist Professor Michael Mahoney. Despite its name, Mahoney's toadlet is not the same as a toad. It's a native Australian frog but given a toady name from the glands on its back that resemble toads from Europe and America. Number 16. New peacock spider species filmed in Western Australia. Moratus unicup, named after Lake Unicup in Western Australia, is one of two new peacock spider species described by scientists Jürgen Otto and David Hill. The species is renowned for its courting display, in which the male swings its abdomen from side to side as the female observes. According to Otto and Hill, there are currently 70 species of peacock spiders, the vast majority of which they have named within the last 7 years. So, there's a lethal jumping spider with a peacock fantail on its back that likes to dance, and is also an excellent drummer? How did I miss out on knowing about them for so long? And is it ready to jump up and kill me? You probably didn't notice it either because it's only 0.3 inches long. This will come as a relief to arachnophobes. Even if it did bite, its tiny mouth would make puncturing human skin to administer its venom unlikely. This little spider is significantly more hazardous to the crickets and other spiders it feeds on. It does not, like many other spiders, spin webs or sit and wait in a burrow. This spider hunts like a lion, attacking prey 3 times its own size and tearing it apart as the venom takes effect. They are, however, real lovers just as much as warriors, and their mating rituals are spectacular. The males have a peacock fan on their buttocks and like drumming and dancing on the ground, which appears to stimulate receptors in the female's legs, making them happy and in the mood. Number 15. New lion species discovered in Ethiopia. Locals and naturalists have long recognized that certain Ethiopian lions resemble other African lions. These lions are smaller and more compact, with thick black manes that reach from their heads and necks down to their stomachs. An international team of scientists has now presented the first thorough proof that these lions are genetically unique from other lions and incredibly rare. The DNA of 15 lions from the Addis Ababa Zoo was matched to samples from different wild lion populations. Microsatellite and mitochondrial DNA analysis revealed that the Addis Ababa lions are genetically unique from wild lions. Unfortunately, the only known instances of this group are the Addis Ababa lions. The researchers advocate for rapid conservation action, including the establishment of a captive breeding program as a first step toward the preservation of these rare lions. The genetic investigations found that the 15 captive lions have enough genetic variation to allow for safe and healthy reproduction among them. The question of whether such lions still exist in the wild remains unanswered. According to Ethiopian officials, lions that resemble the Addis Ababa lions can still be seen in the country's east and northeast. Field surveys and conservation activities should be concentrated in these areas, which include the Bubiel Elephant Sanctuary and Harar. Number 14. New scorpion species discovered in Turkey. Scientists discovered and identified a new species of scorpion, Euscorpius lycius, from the ancient Lycia region, which currently includes the provinces of Mugla and Antalya in southwestern Turkey. With this latest finding, the number of scorpions in the nation from this genus currently stands at 5. Euscorpius is a genus of scorpions sometimes known as littlewood scorpions. As the name implies, these scorpions are not enormous, with the largest example being roughly 5 centimeters long. The group is common throughout North Africa and Europe. Euscorpius scorpions are generally innocuous, having venom similar to a mosquito bite. The new species was named after the historical area of ancient Lycia, which appears in Egyptian and Greek mythology. The new species, like the region's magical past, is highly secretive and may be seen primarily at night, hidden away in pine trees, creeping on rocks, or perched on stone garden walls. Every location where the species was discovered was damp and chilly, with calcareous stones covered in moss. The new scorpion measures between 2 and 2.5 centimeters in length. Adult representatives are light in color, somewhere between brown and red, with pedipalps or claws that are generally darker than the rest of the body. Number 13. Scientists discover new giant fish species off Japan's coast. On a bright winter day in 2016, marine researcher Yoshihiro Fujiwara was docked off the coast of central Japan, measuring chubby cusk eels, when a commotion broke out on the ship. The Shonan Maru's crew had just landed a large, strange-looking fish. "Wow, we caught a coelacanth," they exclaimed as they dragged out a specimen so enormous that it reminded them of the famous living fossil only found in Africa and Indonesia. Fujiwara, a specialist in whale fall communities, the diverse ecosystems that sprout out around and feed on whale carcasses, was both excited and suspicious. Since the 19th century, scientists have been compiling a taxonomy of species from Suruga, Japan's deepest harbor. In addition, the region is one of the most frequently fished in the world. Someone had to have seen this gigantic beast before, Fujiwara reasoned before establishing that the spear-shaped, purple-hued monster from the deep was a genuine find. Fujiwara and his team from the Japan Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology studied reference books and conferred with colleagues across the world. That year, 3 more specimens of the gigantic fish were caught and swiftly preserved in formaldehyde or frozen for eventual examination in the lab. Fujiwara and his colleagues chose the moniker Yokozuna Slickhead after the highest rank in sumo wrestling. While hundreds of new fish species are discovered each year, the deep sea still retains many secrets. Number 12. TRex ant found alive for the first time. In 2003, an entomologist in Malaysia discovered a single dead ant with pincers like Tyrannosaurus rex's tiny arms. Naturally, he called the new species Tyrannomyrmex rex. Over a decade later, researchers have discovered a surviving colony of the species, according to Michael Greshko of National Geographic. And it turns out that the small ant is not quite as dangerous as its namesake. According to Greshko, entomologists Mark Wong and Gordon Yong discovered the ants in March 2016 while studying the Mandai woodlands in Singapore. The researchers investigated the behavior of a colony of 13 workers, as well as eggs, larvae, and pupae. The ants were not what the researchers expected. To begin with, entomologists thought the ants needed pristine woods to exist, but the scientists discovered them thriving in rotted wood and second-growth forest on a military post near rubbish piles. Second, they are truly fearful fellows, unlike their lizard namesake. Greshko claims that the ants were terrified of anything from millipedes to mites to smaller ants. They were even afraid of honey droplets. Despite providing the ants with a variety of foods, the researchers were unable to determine what the insects consumed. As soon as one of the ants emerged from its pupa, the rest of the colony devoured him, so cannibalism seems their preferred choice. Though the crew has not found any more T.rex ants in the Mandai region, Mandelbaum believes the critter is not as rare as it appears. It's difficult to detect since it lives in rotting wood beneath the earth, is finicky about food, and is most likely nocturnal. Number 11. New octopus species. Grimpeteuthis imperator, a new species of Dumbo octopuses, has been discovered, complete with the unmistakable and adorable fins on its head. The cute species, dubbed the Emperor Dumbo, was discovered in 2016. Alexander Ziegler, a resident scientist at Friedrich Wilhelm University in Bonn, Germany, was on board the German survey ship RV Sonne when a particular species was found in one of its nets in the Aleutian Islands. On board the ship, Ziegler instantly identified this as an adult male Dumbo octopus, a kind of deep-sea octopus. The umbrella-like webbing that connects their tentacles and their cartoonishly ear-like fins, which mimic the huge ears on Disney's Dumbo elephant figure, help identify Dumbo octopus species. It's unusual to come across a live Dumbo octopus. They're usually the deepest living octopuses known to science, and they're frequently retrieved as fishing bycatch, often too badly wounded to identify. Because the specimen was discovered near the slopes of the Emperor Seamount chain in the Pacific Ocean, the duo called the species Grimpeteuthis imperator, with Emperor Dumbo or Kaiser Dumbo as a potential common name. Number 10. Newly found gecko can shed entire skin to escape predators. Some people pee themselves in frightening situations. Instead, this gecko sheds its skin and goes running naked. The new species Geckolepis megalepis was discovered in Madagascar, where other geckos are known to lose their scales when threatened. The little naked critter has scales that are lost along with a layer of skin cells if the gecko is stressed. It's a protection mechanism. If a predator captures the gecko, it swiftly loses its fish-like scales and flees, leaving the predator chewing on a clump of skin. Call it disgusting, but it's a lifesaver. In fact, the gecko loses its scales so easily that researchers have a difficult time capturing whole specimens. When the species was found in the 1800s, researchers wrapped the geckos in cotton to minimize scale loss. It was a failure. To minimize contact, researchers now coax them into bags. Yet even then, some scales are lost. They regenerate swiftly, though in a couple of weeks. Scientists have struggled to identify the several kinds of fish-scaled geckos because the scales are so readily shed. Researchers sequenced the DNA of 6 fish-scaled gecko specimens in 2013 and discovered 12 new specimens. To determine if G. megalepis accounted for its own species, scientists examined its bone architecture. The gecko skeleton was proven to be a unique species via high-resolution 3D pictures. Number 9. A new species of fish found in the Maldives coral reefs. A colorful reef fish from the Maldives has been the Maldivian scientists' first new species discovery. While scientists believe the new species has a sizable population, they're concerned about the potential consequences of early economic interest. They also claim that there will be many more biodiversity discoveries in coral reef ecosystems. The rose-veiled fairy wrasse, a new species to science, is named Femin fenma. Fen means rose and refers to both the pink, cute national flower and the color of the fish. The fish was discovered in the 1990s, but it was considered to be an already known red velvet fairy wrasse with slightly different pigmentation. Adult fish of this species change color as they age, so this would not have been an unusual occurrence. However, it was formally recognized as its own species in 2022. It's now been extensively examined. Scientists are implementing conservation measures, and regrettably, it's already gained the attention of the aquarium trade. Number 8. Ghost snake discovered in Madagascar. Deep in Madagascar's bush, scientists discovered the ghost snake, a light gray snake with peculiar patterns that have never been seen before. Because of its remarkably pale body color, the species is generally known as the ghost snake. The U.S. Madagascar research team was on a discovery expedition in search of new species. They spotted the ghost snake on the limestone rocks of Ankarana Special Reserve after climbing more than 12 kilometers. Samples of the snake were sent to the United States for genetic study, and it was determined that the snake is a new species, Madagascarophis lolo, but belongs to the cat-eyed snake family. Cat-eyed snakes get their name from their vertical pupils, which are common in snakes that are active at night or in the evening. The gray overall body color with a black vertebral stripe and dorsal, along with the alternating light gray splotches, distinguishes the Madagascarophis lolo from the other species in the genus. It possesses 25 rows of mid-body scales, 189 rows of ventral scales, and 56 subcaudal scales. Number 7. New species of wasp discovered with monster stinger. Charles Darwin once used the development of parasitoid wasps as an example of why he couldn't believe in God. An insect capable of injecting eggs into caterpillar bodies, which would eventually burst open and let tiny little wasp larvae eat the host from the inside out. This fate was horrific enough for Darwin to infer that a benign higher force could not exist. Darwin may have increased his bets in light of a new discovery. Clistopigia crassicauda is a 9.8 mm long Amazonian wasp equipped with a venomous-looking stinger almost half its body length, designed to immobilize unwary victims and deposit eggs that make the chest-bursting sequences in the Alien movies look like child's play. This terrible demon wasp is just one of 7 new wasp species mentioned in a recent research paper in Zootaxa, but it's by far the most odd find. That shouldn't come as a surprise, given how little we know about these species and how quickly we're discovering more and more of them. Number 6. Mysterious cat fox discovered, maybe new species. A bizarre, seldom-seen beast haunts the night on the French island of Corsica in the Mediterranean. Locals name it jatavolpe, or cat fox, and scientists have been on the hunt for it for the last decade, trying to solve the enigma. Now, agents from France's National Hunting and Wildlife Office have exposed their findings to the public, a wildcat that may be a previously undiscovered species. We believe that it's a wild natural species which was known but not scientifically identified because it's an extremely inconspicuous animal with nocturnal habits, ONCFS environmental technician Pierre Benedetti told AFP. For years, the feline had been a local legend, a predator who would bite the udders of sheep and goats at night. However, when one was mistakenly confined in a chicken coop overnight in 2008, it piqued the interests of experts. They laid snares for the animal's DNA in 2012, which were wooden sticks enticed by an appealing fragrance. They left tufts of fur behind when they brushed their bodies on the sticks, which were ideal for genetic identification. Since then, they've observed a total of 16 cats and captured 12 of them, tagging them with electronic chips to trace their whereabouts, including a particularly remarkable male with 1 golden eye and 1 brown eye, the consequence of an injury from fighting with another male. Number 5. Endangered Langer species found in Myanmar. There's a new kid on the block, a gray-furred langer with white trimmed eyes and a fluffy head that's been named a new monkey species. The popa langer, named after an extinct volcano near its home in Myanmar, is generating quite a stir not only because it's a new species but also because of its striking looks. The discovery of the popa langer occurred in the laboratory. A group of international researchers led by Christian Roos of the German Primate Center, a non-profit research center, compared tissue samples from several museum specimens, including a 100-year-old specimen from London's Natural History Museum, with fecal samples from confined and wild animals. The scientists released a study in Zoological Research after several years of genetic investigation, establishing the popa langer as a separate species in the genus Trachypithecus. The Trachypithecus genus has around 20 identified langer species. Fire's langer is a near relative of the popa langer. However, there are minor morphological distinctions between the two, according to Roos. While the popa langer's discovery is being lauded, this newly described primate is already in jeopardy. There are just 200 to 260 individuals dispersed among 4 distinct communities. Hunting pressure, habitat degradation, and fragmentation are all threats. While the species has yet to be reviewed by the IUCN, an organization that chronicles the conservation status of vulnerable species, the researchers believe it is already critically endangered under IUCN standards. Number 4. Strange creature found in Iraq. A social media video clip showed a person discovering a hybrid animal in the Makul Mountains of Salah al-Din Governorate, Iraq. In the video, a hybrid animal with the appearance of a lion and the walk of a dog can be seen strolling in the Makul Mountains. A lot of people were present, and they photographed the hybrid dogs, who stood waving their tails for them. While the facial characteristics were similar to those of a lion, save for the existence of a mane in the neck, the hybrid animal was characterized by its size and height, and it sat in a similar manner to that of wild lions, indicating the existence of a crossbreeding process as demonstrated by the video footage. Is this truly possible? As we learned in Jurassic Park, life, finds a way. Number 3. New human species found in China. Could this be our closest evolutionary relative? Scientists believe that Homo longi or dragon man should supplant Neanderthals as our closest cousins. Scientists reported that a skull found in northeast China represents a newly discovered human species called Homo longi or dragon man. The Harbin skull was found in the 1930s near Harbin, Heilongjiang province, but was supposedly kept in a well for 85 years to preserve it from the Japanese army. It was eventually discovered and given over to Ji Chong, a professor at Hebei Geo University, in 2018. 3 publications in the journal The Innovation reported on the findings. The skull is at least 146,000 years old, putting it in the Middle Pleistocene period. It might have a brain the size of a current human but with bigger eye sockets, strong brow ridges, a broad mouth, and huge teeth. Longjiang, which literally means dragon river, inspired the name. The team believes the skull belonged to a 50-year-old male who lived in a woodland floodplain. This population would have been hunter-gatherers who lived off the land, Stringer explained. Based on today's winter temperatures in Harbin, it appears that they were dealing with even harsher cold than the Neanderthals. Given the location of the skull and the large size of the man it suggests, the team believes H. longi was well suited for harsh settings and might have spread throughout Asia. Number 2. Rare white giraffe discovered. Dr. Derek Lee, an ecologist, was concerned about the safety of Omo, a snow-white 15-month-old giraffe with a rare illness known as leucism. The first year of life is very dangerous for wild giraffes because they're small enough to be killed and eaten by lions, hyenas, and leopards, he explains. Only about 50% of calves born survive the first year. Omo's condition also makes her a more appealing target for poachers who can easily recognize her. The giraffe has become something of an online phenomenon since it was discovered. Many readers questioned if she'd been welcomed by the herd. I think people loved the fact that Omo the white giraffe was accepted by her more typically colored peers because it speaks to the human aspiration of tolerance and acceptance of those who look different and are not normal, he adds. Omo lives in Tarangire National Park, where Lee and his wife do giraffe research. In 2011, the pair formed the Wild Nature Institute and started Project Giraffe. Though she appears to be content in her habitat, Lee warns that her survival is not assured. She is, in fact, in danger. Sadly, all giraffes are. Now it's time for today's topic. Some years ago, a group of scientists was exploring the jungles of Borneo, which are some of the densest and least understood in the world. One of them encountered a giant lizard which looked exactly like a dinosaur. When they saw this strange creature, they decided to act immediately. No one believed the scientist, but now artists have reconstructed the creature according to the scientist's description, and they've produced this amazing image. The idea is to set up a new expedition to look for the creature that resembles this one. Do you think they might find it this time? Is it possible dinosaurs survived in some remote areas like Borneo? As always, comment down below and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just saw on screen. Let's move on to the next one. Number 1. The world's largest bee rediscovered in Indonesia. It turns out the world's biggest bee, last spotted by a scientist in 1981, is not extinct. An Australian university and other parties stated Thursday that a solitary female was discovered and documented earlier this year on an Indonesian island. The bee, Megachile Pluto, also known as Wallace's giant bee after British naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace, who discovered it, was spotted in January by an international team of researchers looking for the rare species in Indonesia's North Moluccas island group, according to the University of Sydney. The bee has the world's biggest wingspan, measuring more than 2.5 inches. Female bees build their homes in termite nests, and the researchers discovered the lone female gigantic bee in a termite nest in a tree approximately 8 feet above the ground, according to the university. The crew flew to Indonesia in late January, approximately at the same time of year as Wallace and Adam Messer, who last observed the bug in 1981, according to Bolt's description. According to the University of Sydney, the bee was discovered on the last day of a 5-day visit to the region. How many more species might still be out there to discover? Do you think there might be a living human species hidden somewhere in the world? Let us know in the comments below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.